Hey guys, Walt Disney Fan here, 2006, and today we're going to look at some Disney films you've probably never heard of. You probably never heard of them because they were cancelled. Today, we will reveal those movies. The top 10 cancelled or lost Disney films. So, let's get going. Number 10. The live-action Fantasia remake. This was going to have the exact same segments. There would have been lots of dialogue and lots of strong language. It would have been a very underrated film next to The Rescuers Down Under. That's all we know. The film was entirely cancelled. Sorry about that. We don't really know what happened to the film. But anyways, next. Number 9. Number 9, Newt. This is the only Pixar film to ever have been announced and then cancelled. The only Disney Pixar film to ever have been announced and then cancelled. Since it's the only Pixar film on this list. The film would have been very similar to Blue Skies Rio. Newt and Brooke, the two heroes of Newt, would have fell in love and got married at the end of the movie. I think that's all we know. Will Newt ever see the light of day, since it got scrapped for Inside Out? The world may never find out. Next, number 8. The Three Little Pigs movie. The Search for the Big Bad Wolf. Now, this film would have been fairly similar to the 1985 animated short of the Silly Symphony, The Three Little Pigs. That's all we know, really. The film would have had a fairly similar plotline to the movie. And at the end, the Big Bad Wolf would have had all the pigs, since it got cancelled. Number 7. The Jungle Book 3. The Wrath of Shere Khan. Now, sadly, the movie was scrapped, so technically we don't have most of the pictures, but we do have the setup. Here's what the plot of the first Jungle Book was going to be. Spoilers! But, well, not really. The plot was going to be about the jungle ending because of Shere Khan and Kaa teaming up together to destroy Mowgli, Baloo, and Bagheera all together. Heck, they were even going to team up with King Louie Ensemble. See, I told you King Louie was evil. But what makes it a lot better is that this movie was scrapped because they found it very weird because it would have took place in Australia. I wonder if this later inspired the plot of the Rescuers Down Under. But anyways, this concept was scrapped because they didn't know how to do the entire hands-on basements. So what they did was close the book on Wrath of Shere Khan, and 85 years later we got a live-action remake of the first two movies leading up. In fact, most of the scenes were designed after the scrap, after most of the deleted concept, which of course made King Louie a bad guy, but all three villains didn't team up to destroy Mowgli, Baloo, and Bagheera. But that doesn't mean that the movie was scrapped entirely. However, it is staying in production. They just haven't released it yet. However, this was going to be the first ever hand-drawn movie released in the 20s of Disney. In fact, I think it would have on to what leads us to number 6. Who plugged Roger Rabbit? A sequel to Who Framed Roger Rabbit. That's right, a sequel to Who Framed was going to be in development in 1995, the same year of Pixar's Toy Story. Also, it was the release of many other Disney films. In fact, like Toy Story, a Goofy movie. Originally, this was going to be released more geared towards adults, unlike the first movie. But sadly, they scrapped it because in 2014, Bob Hoskins, the actor of Eddie Valiant, passed away. Dude, you were doing this in 1995, but then you decided to do it when Bob Hoskins dies? Anyways, another reason why Disney canned the project is because they found it more with a more sarcastic Roger, who wanted to do nothing more than to humiliate Eddie Valiant. More like the other way round in the first movie. And it's sad that the sequel might never see the light of day. I mean, the 1985 classic seemed very good, and it would have been cool if the 1995 classic was released. It would have been better if they did it in 1995 instead of canceling it with Hoskins' death in 2014. It doesn't matter when they were going to release it. I wanted the 80s one to get a sequel. There was going to be Who Whacked Roger Rabbit, but then they scrapped that idea as well. So R.I.P. Who plugged Roger Rabbit. 1995 to 2013. Number 5. Rourke's Revenge. Sadly, this wasn't really one of the best script sequences. But I just want to talk about the concept. It would have been very smooth. It would have been led up with Atlantis and Milo's Returns, the first 2 movies that were going to come out before this. But sadly, to no avail because Rourke passed at the end of the first Atlantis. But that's all we know. So that leads us up to number 4, Frady Cat. Sadly, we don't really have much of a big picture, so technically, I don't know what the plot line was, but we do know what the poster is. That's really all we have to say. So it was going to be about a cat who was afraid of planes. Yeah. Number 3, Batman. That's right. Batman was going to be adapted by Disney, one of the best ever cartoon companies in the world. This was developed in 1988, the time when Batman was making a profit by Tim Burton. In fact, we were going to have this movie with Tim Burton as the director, but sadly, because of his illness in 2008, that's all I have to say about this concept. Number 2, The Gremlins, aka Gremlin Gus. Okay, this was about, I don't know how to begin. Basically, it was going to be about poachers who chop down trees to make an airport. But then the Gremlins don't like this idea, so they can sabotage this area. In fact, when their leader, Gus, meets up with a pilot who's also named Gus, they get food and shelter. If we give up anymore, we'll starve. That was going to be one of the lines in the movie, same for Bug's Life. But sadly, we can't say much about the movie when it got canceled 1937. Production of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. He originally made this film his first film, Walt did. Now, some people may not know this film was scrapped because it's the oldest Disney film to have ever been announced and then canceled. So, what happened? This movie got scrapped for Snow White, which I think would have been better if Snow White was scrapped for Gremlins instead. Alrighty then. Now, before we move to the number one spot, I'd like to add an honorable mention: The Search for Mickey Mouse. Now, the reason why this isn't officially on the list is because it would have been underrated next to The Rescuers Down Under. Production began in 2010. The same year they released they were put that thing on Wreck-It Ralph and released, I'm not gonna say it, in 2000. But basically, what happened is no one knows the plot line. So sadly, we don't have anything to talk about. So that's it. Number one, The Rescuers 3. The Rescuers in France. That's right. Originally, they were going to make a third Rescuers, but the idea got ditched for unknown reasons. McLeach wouldn't have been in it because he was deaf in the first film and the second film, but there aren't any reasons why this film got scrapped. Bernard would have been my favorite character because he is my favorite character in the first two movies, so but it's Disney. So with that in mind, what happened to The Rescuers in France? There are several different postulations for the cancellation of The Rescuers 3. It's either because it was a more sarcastic Bernard, or the movie would be outdated when it was released, or it would have been a bit more of a ripoff to The Rescuers and The Rescuers Down Under. Or it would have been weird if McLeach wasn't in the film when it was released. Or Disney can't get the rights to BFG. What? That's an exception? Or Disney can't even get the rights to their last film, The Rescuers Down Under. Well, there you go, guys. There you go. But I guess the true question you're asking is, will some of these films made by Disney ever see the light of day? Honestly, my guess is no. It's been a long time since they scrapped some of them, and they just announced Moana, so never come. So I guess it's what Rufus says. Faith makes things turn out right. So my question to you is, are you happy that some of these films got scrapped for different films, or are you kind of curious about what kind of happened in some of them? Let me know in the comments below. There you go. My top 10 canceled or lost Disney films. Okay, guys. If you're probably wondering what Disney film I missed the most, it was probably number one. Okay. Did everybody shed in tears when they saw